Yeah, there's been a big resurgence in the IPO market, and that has the Renaissance IPO ETF hitting highs not seen since February of 2022. Joining me now is Matthew Kennedy, Senior Strategist at Renaissance Capital. Matthew, thank you for being here. What do you think is behind this kind of return of enthusiasm that we've seen behind these IPOs themselves?
Sure. So, we're calling it the Great IPO Rebound, and it'll be a return to maybe 3 to 5 deals per week. It'll start off as kind of a return to the mean, and then heading into 2026, I think we are going to see that year we've all been waiting for. But first, it'll happen in the fall. Now, a lot of us were calling this before the tariff sell-off. So at the risk of sounding like the boy who cried out IPO, I think we are going to call it the Great IPO Rebound. First and foremost, markets have made a more than full recovery since the tariff sell-off. As you mentioned, the IPO index tracked by the IPO ETF, ticker IPO, is beating the S&P 500 year to date. It's beating the NASDAQ. So we've seen a lot of promising signs there. Investors are making money. Issuers are getting the valuations that they were hoping for, avoiding that down round. Growth is good again. Not growth at all costs. I think we saw Figma was able to go public at 20 times sales. That was a first since 2021 as well. So the IPO market moves in cycles. This is just a textbook case of an upcycle. There's palpable excitement. Animal spirits are back, and many IPOs are lining up to take advantage of that. I do want to emphasize too. Sorry, this is a rebound that is years in the making too. The pipeline after a 3-year bottleneck for the backlog of tech IPOs is just bigger than we've ever seen before. There's hundreds of companies waiting to go public.
Yeah, the supply side of potential IPO candidates is certainly there. How fragile do you think this market is, though? You mentioned what we saw after Liberation Day in April, where a bunch of companies paused their IPO plans due to the volatility in the market. Do you feel like, kind of given that backlog that you mentioned and given the recent performance of the IPOs we've seen over the last few weeks, that there's some more stability here?
I think so. The tariff sell-off was unpredictable and it was massive. I think that we could see some pullback and we'd still be fine. People often talk about the big names, SpaceX, Stripe, OpenAI, and when are these companies going to go public? And I will say, just because Wall Street rolls out the red carpet doesn't mean they're going to walk down it. But there are hundreds of companies in the pipeline. Those big names often represent just a fraction of the overall market. So, it's hard to say. I mean, as you know, private markets are very generous and companies are more than willing to play the waiting game. But they haven't had an opportunity this good in years. And I think they're ready to take it. They've, filed confidentially. They've prepared for this IPO for years. So I think they just want to, get it over with.
Absolutely. Matthew, thank you so much. We're going to continue this conversation over at etfedge.cnbc.com. Matt will be joined by Nathan Garachi, president of Nova Diaz Wealth Management. We'll also talk the latest in crypto and fund flows.